Stop. Whatever you are doing right now, stop. What I am about to say is not for everyone listening. It is for you. You have been carrying something quietly for far too long. You smile when you are expected to smile. You answer when people call. You keep moving when your heart is tired. But inside there is a place that has been asking a question no one around you seems able to answer. Why does it feel like you are living on the edge of something, as if one more step should change everything, and yet the door has still not opened? You have not imagined that tension. You have not invented the ache. You have been sensing a delay that other people do not see, and because they do not see it, you have had to carry it alone. That is why this message found you with such force. It is speaking to the part of you that has been waiting, watching, and still refusing to give up. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you are going to recognize what has been happening around you, what it actually means, and why this Friday is not just another day passing through your life. By the time we close, you are going to understand why the pressure you have felt is not punishment. You are going to recognize the signs that have been repeating in your days and what they have been confirming all along. You are going to see the pattern beneath the pattern, the place where your strength has been spent in ways you never needed to keep repeating. And before this ends, there is a declaration I am going to speak over your life that may be the very reason you were brought here tonight. This did not reach you by accident. It reached you by appointment. There are moments when the unseen does not make noise. It arrives through repetition, through the weight in your chest, through the strange certainty that something is changing even before anything visible changes. That is what has been happening to you. You may have thought you were only tired, only distracted, only in a season that had no clear name, but something deeper has been moving around you. You have been noticing the same hour on the clock again and again, and it is not because your mind is trying to be clever. You have been waking with a start, or opening your eyes at the exact same time in the night, and the silence around you feels charged, as if your own room is holding a message. Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life, a guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise, learn to spot distractions before they control you, and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10 Zuzazara readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who are tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment. Holding a message it refuses to lose. You lie there awake, not in fear exactly, but in a kind of alert stillness, as if your spirit is listening before your thoughts can catch up. You have also felt emotional waves that do not match the day in front of you. A normal conversation can leave you suddenly heavy. A simple memory can rise and stay longer than expected. A place you used to move through without thinking now feels strangely distant, and the people who once fit so naturally into your routine no longer fit the same way. You are not becoming cold, you are becoming clear. And then there are the moments that feel almost too small to mention. A name appears twice in one day. A number keeps showing up in places that have no reason to agree with one another. A sentence in passing lands with unusual force, as if it was spoken only to open something in you. You glance at something, then later see it again in another place, and your inner response is immediate, even if you cannot explain it to anyone else. You keep sensing a pattern before the pattern fully reveals itself. These are not random disturbances. They are not proof that something is wrong with you. They are confirmations. The waking hour is not an interruption. It is an invitation. The emotional waves are not weakness. They are alignment, moving through places that were numb for too long. The old conversations feeling hollow is not loss for its own sake. It is evidence that your spirit is no longer able to pretend with what has expired. And those repeated signs, those quiet repetitions, those small shocks of recognition are not confusing you. They are calling you to pay attention. Take a breath with me. Let that settle into the part of you that has waited longest to hear it. What has been repeated around you is not meant to scare you. It is meant to wake you. If even one of those moments just landed in you, if your shoulders dropped at any point while I was speaking, type the number 888 in the comments. That number carries the language of overflow, not because of superstition, but because your agreement matters when recognition lands this cleanly. Type 888, then come right back to me. But there is something beneath these signs, and that is where the message becomes even more personal. Beneath those signs is one single pattern, and you have been living inside it longer than you realize. It is the pattern of reaching with the right heart while using the wrong posture. It is the pattern of exhausting yourself to prove what was never meant to be proved. It is the pattern of treating delay like a personal failure, as though the answer must come only when you have become more forceful, more useful, more visible, more prepared, more certain. You have been pulling on ropes that are no longer attached to anything. That is the hidden strain. You keep calling it discipline, loyalty, responsibility, perseverance, and some of those words are true, but beneath them there has also been a quiet pressure to hold everything together by force. You have believed that if you stay alert enough, give enough, wait long enough, explain enough, then eventually what belongs to you will have no choice but to arrive. Yet the energy of your life has been leaking into a place where effort can no longer produce what only surrender can receive. This pattern shows up everywhere once you see it. It shows up when you overthink a conversation long after it ended. It shows up when you keep revisiting a door that already answered with silence. It shows up when you say yes too quickly to what drains you, because some part of you is afraid that a slower answer will cost you the opportunity. It shows up when you try to save relationships that have already changed shape, or when you keep building on a foundation that has already begun to crack beneath the weight of your own endurance. And the hardest part is that you have been applauded for this pattern. People admire your consistency. They trust your strength. They call you reliable because they do not see how much of your reliability has cost you. They do not see the private negotiations, the late-night reasoning, the internal vow that says you will hold on one more day, one more week, one more season, until something finally gives. They only see that you keep going. But you see the cost. You feel it in your body. You feel it in the way your breath shortens when another demand lands on you. You feel it in the way joy has had to wait behind duty. You feel it in the way your spirit has begun to resist what your habits keep insisting on. This is why the signs have been so persistent. They are not random. They are the mercy of a God who refuses to leave you trapped in a cycle that can no longer carry your becoming. Stay with me, because what comes next is the layer underneath the layer. What I see beneath all of this is a courtyard you have always belonged to, though for years you have been standing just outside its gates. Imagine a place built to receive you, open to the sky, made for light to move freely across the stone, but someone long ago taught you to live as if the entrance were uncertain. So you learned to wait at the edge. You learned to watch the threshold instead of crossing it. You learned to listen for permission before you allowed yourself to breathe inside what was already yours. That courtyard has not disappeared. It has been there the whole time. What happened is that long before you had language for your own hunger, something in you learned caution. Maybe it was disappointment, maybe it was being overlooked, maybe it was the repeated message that wanting too much made you vulnerable, that asking too clearly made you exposed, that shining too openly made you a target. So you lowered your voice. You made yourself manageable. You became the one who would not take up too much space, who would not upset the room, who would not force the issue even when the issue was forcing you. And because you adapted so well, the adaptation became invisible, even to you. This is why the courtyard matters. It explains why your life has felt both near and not yet entered. The gate is not locked the way fear told you it was. It was only that you had become accustomed to standing where it was safer to wait than to walk in. You inherited that posture from old survival, from old training, from the part of your story that had to keep watch in order to keep going. The stone remembers what your mind tried to minimize. The open air remembers what your voice learned not to ask for. The courtyard is not empty, it is waiting for your step. And there is more. In that courtyard, the sound of your own voice was never meant to vanish. Yet you grew used to speaking from the doorway, speaking carefully, speaking only as much as would not disturb anyone else's comfort. You became fluent in self-restraint. You became skilled at reading the room before you let yourself be real. You became so good at surviving the outer weather that you almost forgot there was ever meant to be a center inside you where you did not have to perform for access. That is the deeper wound. Not that you were never given a place, but that you began to believe your place had to be earned every time you entered it. So you kept measuring yourself against unseen standards. You kept adjusting your tone, your pace, your posture, your timing. You kept shrinking your own certainty until it could pass as humility. But humility is not disappearance. Humility is not the same as erasure. The courtyard has heard enough silence. The threshold has held enough hesitation. The time has come for the doors to sound different in your hearing. If the image of that courtyard just settled somewhere inside you, if you can feel the difference between waiting at the gate and standing where you were always meant to stand, type the words, "I am here," in the comments. Let those words mark the moment where recognition becomes permanent. Type, "I am here," then come back to me. Because once you understand the courtyard, you understand the return. The return is not a frantic list of things you now have to do to become acceptable. It is not another burden placed on your already full hands. It is a coming back to what was already prepared for you before fear taught you to wait outside. It is the soft recovery of your own center. It is the relinquishing of the habit of proving, the habit of bracing, the habit of mistaking strain for devotion. You do not need to manufacture the door. You do not need to force the gate. You do not need to negotiate with the courtyard as though it has forgotten your name. What you need is to receive the invitation that has already been standing there. And when you receive it, your life begins to reorganize around something quieter and truer than pressure. The first practice is simple, and it is not a performance. I call it the morning threshold. Before your feet touch the day, before your mind starts collecting demands, place one hand over your chest and let yourself name, silently or softly, that you do not enter this day as a beggar for permission. You enter as one who has been noticed. Do not rush it. Let that line land. You are not trying to convince heaven. You are letting your body remember where it stands. The second practice is just as simple, and it is called the evening release. At the end of the day, do not review your worth by measuring what was still unfinished. Instead, place before God the places where you kept overholding, over-explaining, over-carrying, and then release them without drama. You are not confessing failure. You are laying down excess weight. You are telling your soul that not everything required of you belongs to you. That is stewardship. That is wisdom. That is how the courtyard stays open inside you. This is where the change begins to feel tangible. You stop chasing every echo. You stop reading every silence as rejection. You stop making the old strain sacred. You begin to notice that peace is not laziness, that stillness is not absence, that waiting is not always delay. Sometimes waiting is the space where a deeper yes is growing roots you cannot yet see. And when that yes takes root, you move differently. You speak differently. You answer more slowly but more truthfully. You stop apologizing for the weight of what matters to you. You begin to understand that the gate was never asking for your exhaustion. It was asking for your trust. If something in this message confirmed what your spirit already knew, let your like be your amen without words. Not as a metric, as an agreement that what was named here was named correctly. Sit with that for a moment. Let it settle into the part of you that has been carrying too much alone. There is someone in your life who needs this exact message tonight. Someone quietly tired, someone secretly seeking, someone holding a posture nobody around them sees, someone working hard and wondering why the door has not opened, someone whose face just came into your mind as I was speaking. Send this to them, not as a recommendation, as a delivery, the same way it was delivered to you tonight, by appointment. Before this closes, type the words "I am chosen" in the comments. Not as a wish, not as a hope, as a confirmation. The agreement quietly forming between heaven and your hearing across these last minutes is one you will live from for the rest of this season. Type it slowly. Let your fingers do what your spirit is already doing. You are confirmed. You are covered. You are being led. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not standing at a dead end. You are standing at a threshold, and what has been waiting for you on the other side is already speaking your name. Right now, all across the world, others are receiving this same recognition tonight. In places you will never see, hearts are being steadied, shoulders are lowering, and quiet tears are becoming quiet yeses. You are not alone in this hearing. You are part of a gathering that does not need to announce itself to be real. It is sealed. You are still here, and that means something in you understood. You did not drift away from this moment. You stayed at the threshold long enough to feel what was being spoken over you, and that is not small. That is the kind of listening that changes a room before anything visible changes outside it. The seal is not only a sentence at the end, it is the place where what has been named begins to settle into your bones. It is the quiet recognition that the old strain no longer gets to define the shape of your days. It is the moment when your spirit stops asking whether the message was meant for you and begins to live as though it was always meant for you. You do not need to chase the proof again. You do not need to circle the same mountain with the same tired questions, hoping that this time the answer will become louder by force. The answer has already become clear in the way your inner life responded. Your body heard what your fear tried to doubt. Your heart recognized what your mind kept trying to delay. The door did not open by noise. It opened by appointment. So now let what has been revealed remain revealed. Let the signs stay signs. Let the patterns stay exposed. Let the old posture lose its authority over you. You do not have to keep returning to the gate as if the gate is still deciding whether you belong. You belong. You are allowed to stand in what has been prepared. And if your life has felt slow, remember this: slowness is not the same as absence. Silence is not the same as refusal. Delay is not the same as denial. There are seasons in which heaven does not shout because it is building something deep enough that a shallow voice would only disturb it. What is being prepared for you does not need your panic. It needs your trust. You may have noticed how often the most important things in your life arrive quietly, not because they are weak, but because they are sacred. A healed heart does not always arrive with thunder. Sometimes it arrives with the first breath that does not feel tight. A true yes does not always announce itself with spectacle. Sometimes it comes in the form of a sentence that lands and stays. Sometimes it comes in the form of peace that refuses to leave you once it has entered. That is what this message has been doing. It has been standing beside your life and naming what has already been stirring. It has been confirming that the restlessness was not random, that the pull away from the old way was not betrayal, that the quiet ache in you was not a defect. It was a witness. It was telling the truth before you had language for it. It was telling you that your life cannot remain split between what you have been told to be and what you were made to become. So here is the gentlest truth I can leave in your hands. You are not being asked to become someone else. You are being asked to return to yourself with more honesty than before. You are being asked to stop negotiating with the parts of you that were trained to shrink. You are being asked to let the deeper yes rise without apology. You are being asked to trust that what is yours does not need you to force it into existence. There is a strange mercy in that. You do not have to win what has already been given. You do not have to perform for what has already recognized you. You do not have to keep proving your worth to a future that has already been marked by grace. The pressure can come off now, not all at once in one dramatic instant, but enough to change the way you breathe, enough to change the way you answer, enough to change the way you stand when no one is watching. Because the truth is, someone is already being transformed by your refusal to stay in the old place. Someone is already learning from the way you keep showing up, even when your strength has felt thin. Someone is already noticing that dignity does not always look loud. Sometimes it looks like a person who has suffered much, but still refuses to become bitter. Sometimes it looks like the decision to stay soft, where hardness would have been easier. Sometimes it looks like trust that survives without applause, and that is why the final seal matters. It does not close the experience, it confirms it. It says the recognition was real. It says the hearing was real. It says the inner shifting was real. It says the Friday that was named over your life was never about a date on a page. It was about a crossing in your spirit. It was about a moment when the old cycle was interrupted and a new knowing began to form. So let this be the place where you stop arguing with the evidence of your own awakening. Let this be the place where you stop making small what God has been making clear. Let this be the place where you understand that what has been withheld from you in one season is not the same as what has been denied to you forever. Some doors open later than your fear wants, but they open. Some promises ripen slower than your impatience can bear, but they ripen. Some blessings arrive only when you have finally become still enough to receive them without destroying them with hurry. But they arrive. You are standing in that kind of moment now, not because you made it happen by force, but because grace found you where you were and called you forward. There is dignity in that, there is relief in that, there is a holiness in that which does not need to be explained to everyone else in order to be true for you. So breathe, not as an instruction that is trying to manage you, but as a blessing over you. Breathe as one who no longer has to brace for every next thing. Breathe as one who has been seen. Breathe as one whose name has already been spoken in places the eye cannot measure. Breathe as one who is allowed to receive without scrambling to earn the right. And now let me speak this over you plainly and slowly. You are not late. You are not lost. You are not overlooked. You are not too much, and you are not too late. You are being brought into alignment with what has been waiting on the other side of your surrender. You are being prepared for a measure of peace that cannot live in the old noise. You are being carried toward a blessing that will fit you because it was designed with your life in view. This is the final assurance. What was chosen for you does not become smaller because the waiting was long. It becomes clearer, it becomes steadier, it becomes more unmistakable. The delay did not erase the promise. The delay revealed how deep the promise goes. So keep your heart open, Keep your steps gentle. Keep your inner ear awake. The same God who brought you to the hearing will keep bringing you into the fulfillment. The same hand that steadied you in the delay will steady you in the arrival. The same mercy that found you in the waiting will meet you in the becoming. You are confirmed. You are gathered. You are carried. You are kept. You are being led into what is yours. Right now, all across the world, there are hearts that are settling into the same quiet certainty, and that quiet certainty is not small. It is the beginning of peace that stays. It is the beginning of recognition that remains. It is the beginning of a life that no longer has to ask permission to be what heaven already named. It is sealed. The sealing has already begun in you, and what begins this way does not need applause to become real. It moves quietly, deeply, and with the kind of authority that cannot be borrowed from anyone else. It simply holds. It simply remains. It simply becomes the new place from which you live. What you are leaving behind is not only a season of struggle. You are leaving behind the habit of calling every delay a verdict. You are leaving behind the reflex that says silence must mean rejection. You are leaving behind the old way of measuring your life by how quickly things appear. That measuring rod was always too small for the life you are carrying now. There are things you have endured that taught you to stay alert when you should have been able to rest. There were moments that made you scan every room, every voice, every pause, looking for danger, looking for disappointment, looking for the place where the atmosphere might change again. But the atmosphere is changing now, and the first place it changes is in the part of you that no longer has to brace. That is the mercy of this moment. You do not need to force yourself into gratitude. You do not need to manufacture certainty. You only need to recognize that the pressure has already been named, and what has been named can lose its hold. The fear that used to sound like wisdom is losing its language. The habit that used to sound like loyalty is losing its right to rule you. The old survival posture is no longer the final shape of your life. And if you have been wondering why this recognition came with such tenderness, it is because tenderness is how truth arrives when it is meant to heal rather than shame. There is no cruelty in this message. There is no demand hidden beneath it. There is only the steady witness that says you have carried enough, you have watched enough, you have waited enough, and now you may let your shoulders come down. Let that happen without suspicion. Let rest feel holy again. Let peace feel trustworthy again. Let the quiet around you stop looking like emptiness and begin to feel like space being prepared. Not every silence is a warning. Some silences are a womb. Some silences are the place where God is forming what would be ruined if it had to grow too loud too soon. This is why you were not allowed to settle for the old explanations. The old explanations were too small. They made your life sound accidental when it was intentional. They made your ache sound meaningless when it was actually revealing a transition. They made your longing seem inconvenient when it was actually evidence that your spirit had outgrown the room it was told to accept. You can feel that now, even if only in part. You can feel how the old room no longer fits. You can feel how certain conversations no longer carry life. You can feel how your appetite has changed. You can feel how the things that once distracted you now leave you strangely untouched. That is not a loss to grieve endlessly. That is the sign of a hunger being redirected toward what can truly feed it. So receive this with gentleness. You are not being emptied so that nothing remains. You are being emptied of what cannot travel with you. That is different. That is sacred. That is why some endings feel like relief, even when they arrive with tears. They are not taking your life away. They are clearing the space where it can finally breathe. And there is something else I need you to hear. You do not have to explain your becoming to people who are committed to the version of you that was easier to manage. You do not need to keep translating your peace into language others can approve. You do not need to keep shrinking your growth so that no one around you feels left behind. Growth is not betrayal. Clarity is not arrogance. Boundaries are not coldness. They are evidence that your inner life is becoming more honest. When honesty rises, the soul stops scattering. It gathers, it centers, it remembers what belongs to it and what does not. It remembers which doors were invitations and which ones were tests of endurance that were never meant to become permanent homes. It remembers that waiting well is not the same as waiting forever. Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life. A guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you. And strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10 Zuru readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who are tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.